address or any questions or comments which you'd like to hear from the group, please send acknowledgement to. And remember, you're never losing if you're bluesing. We got a song here later, one for you. It's by the late Jimi Hendrix. It's called, what's it going to be called tonight?
Red House.
Yeah. Yeah, Deacon's going to take the first part of it for a while. I'll join in a little bit later on. But this is more the electric type blues of the modern day. All right, boys?
There's a red house over yonder, yeah. Lord, where my pretty baby like to stay. There is a red house over yonder, yeah, man. My little girl. Oh, 99 1/2 days. Lord, there's a red house over yonder, and it sits high up on that hill. There's a red house over yonder, yeah. Sits high up on a hill, yeah. Well, and well, if my little girl don't wanna go, oh, I'm pretty sure that her sister will. Her sister likes me, man. Come on over here, Bill. Sing one, man.
Wait a minute. I think of something right away. Yeah. I said, wait a minute, pretty baby. I think something's happening. I think something's happening right over here. Yeah. see my nappy-headed baby. Not a night, and not a night, and not a night long, yes. Ooh, yeah. Take it on down now, man. You shook me, baby. You shook me all night long.
My name is B.J. Maloney, and welcome to Pinellas Past. I hope you enjoyed the music tonight that we played on our opening postcards, because the gentleman that we have this evening with us was the artist that played that music for you. He is a very talented man, a true blue blood of Pinellas County, Captain Early Jackson McMullen. He's the great-grandson of James Paramore McMullen, who was one of the seven McMullen brothers, who came down from Quitman, Georgia in the 1800s and came into this area to settle it. We'll hear, later on in the show, we'll hear a few more tunes that Mr. McMullen will play for us. But first of all, he's going to share with us his first love and his last dream, and that's to get the ferry boats back on Tampa Bay. But first of all, we have another slice of the past from one of our favorite treasures here in Palm Harbor, and that's Charlie Jones, our pioneer editor. Charlie?
Thank you, B.J., and hello everyone in TV land. We're glad to bring to you History in the News. For our history tonight, we're going to take some current events that happened lately. A space capsule was buried in Pop Stansel Park in beautiful Palm Harbor. Your pioneer editor was present at this historic event, as were numerous other members of Palm Harbor and surrounding communities. Included in the capsule are letters from astronaut John Glenn, President Ronald Reagan, and Vice President George Bush. Other items depicting this century's space exploration included books of the astronauts, photos of rockets, and a Life magazine autographed by Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon. Also included are messages of peace from 3 Pinellas County elementary schools. Figurative shovels, here are one of the shovels right here, were presented to your pioneer editor for the Palm Harbor Historical Society. And Dolores Baldwin and Janine Enderly, representing the Palm Harbor Chamber of Commerce, also received a shovel like this. We were challenged to assure that the capsule would be reopened in approximately 50 years on January the 27th, 2038 AD. Although this editor may not be there on that date, others will be charged with this responsibility, so that in fact future generations will also be informed of our history and will be reminded of the importance of history in the news. And now back to our lovely lady and host, B.J. Maloney.
Thank you, Charlie. Let's take a ride on a relic from the past, the old ferry boats. Imagine with me that you're walking down an old wooden dock. The year is 1927. It's early in the morning and the fog still sits heavy on the water. As you look, your eyes can see the weathered channel markers, and your ears can pick up the sound of a clickety-click, clickety-click. The silhouette of an old ferry boat sitting low in the water emerges from the fog. You reach in your pocket and pulling out a quarter, which is the price of the ticket. You eagerly await a ride to Pinellas Point, aboard one of the Bee-Line fleet's famous boats, the Sarasota. The man at the wheel is Captain Early Jackson McMullen, Sr. And there, sitting in a small lookout window, right above the compass, is a little sandy-haired boy of 5 or 6. His eyes are fascinated with what he sees, and his mind is alive with the dreams of salt air and a picture of himself in his father's proud captain's hat. That small boy is with us here tonight, more than 60 years later. But I can tell you without reservations that his years have done nothing to dim the enthusiasm that this man has for the ferry boat. I take great pleasure in welcoming tonight to Pinellas Pass Captain Early Jackson McMullen. Welcome.
I'm very grateful to be here, VJ.
Well, we're
And,
glad to
shake
have you.
hands.
We're glad to have you. This is going to be a 2-part program this evening. The first part, we're going to cover ferry boats.
All right.
And the little bit that you know about them, or the lot that you know about them, will not fit in this little bit of time.
Yeah.
And then the second part, we're going to have a few little tunes on our harmonicas here. But first of all, I want to get a feeling of what it was like as a small boy to grow up and around ferry boats. And what memories do you have of that?
Just the most marvelous memories that I've ever known anybody could have. Just as good of memories as anybody could wish to have. It felt like every morning, as far as I can see, I'd be after I'd get out of school, grammar school at Glen Oak Grammar at the lower part of St. Petersburg, I would beat it on home and do what little chores I had to do. Then I'd manage to get down to ride the rest of the afternoon on the ferry boat.
Now, where was the dock?
The dock was at the southern end of 4th Street, St. Petersburg. Southern end of 4th Street is known as Pinellas Point.
Mm-hmm. Now, you'd hop on the boat, and then where?
I'd hop on get on the boat, and I'd watch what the seamen were doing. There were 2 seamen, and I usually would hang around them. One of them would pick me up sometimes and put me up around his over his have one leg over one shoulder and one over the other shoulder, and he'd horse around with me like that. It made me feel like a prince of some sort.
Well, your daddy was king of the boat,
My
so
dad
that
was
made
the
you.
he was sort of a king.
Yeah, that made you the prince.
Right.
Now, as you got a little older, and you stopped, just being able to play on the boat, what were some of your chores?
One of my duties was to help clean up the deck, to sweep up paper cups, and it wasn't ever too. I'm awful glad it wasn't as much of a cleanup job as some of the football fields have. They didn't have any big games like that on the deck, but it was always something they have to clean up. But I was always grateful to do whatever had to be done on that. Pick up a bucket of ice from the Pinellas Point side, exploring in St. Petersburg, and carry a bucket of ice aboard and put it in a water cooler. There was a water company called Misto, M-I-S-T-O at that time. It bottled water. I don't think they're in existence anymore, but it was good water.
Well, during that time, the only way to get to Tampa or Bradenton area from Pinellas County, you either had to go the land route, which was through Oldsmar. Was the Gandy Bridge up then?
The Gandy Bridge was there, yeah.
But,
we could go around by Gandy Bridge. There used to be a saying that old man Charlie Carter, who was the president of the company at the time, had this saying. It was true. Ride the Beeline Ferry has saved 49 miles.
Oh my goodness.
49 miles around.
Mm-hmm. And there wasn't a Skyway Bridge. That came in 1954.
Well, never thought there's ever going to be any such thing as that. Had no idea whatsoever. I figured there's going to be a ferry boat run across there the rest of the time. And I'm not going to knock the Skyway Bridge, but I'm a whole lot safer going across that bay on an old ferry boat. I know that. I even helped save lives, and I've seen other captains save lives.
It was kind of the Coast Guard back then.
It helped the Coast Guard a lot.
Mm-hmm. You had one man who ditched in his plane right above you.
Yeah, a little Piper Cub decided one day. I was still a young fellow myself at that time. I was about 15 years old. His airplane, a little Piper Cub, would come in and zoom up, just barely missed the wheelhouse, then he'd bank around and come back. He actually called it buzzing, that old ferry. Well, he's scaring them people on there. I know that. My dad was the captain on there, and they kind of had him bothered too. He'd go out on the wing of the bridge and try to wave him out of the way, get out of here. Well, a little plane made one pass. The end of the wing just barely grazed the old black smokestack, and it sent that plane into a spin, and he landed right in the wake of the old ferry boat.
No, he was just trying to buzz. Your daddy might have wanted to pass him by at that point.
Talking about mothers against drunk drivers, this would be you have to have airliners against drunk drivers, I guess. They fished him out of the water, and he was right aromatic. I don't know whether he had 7 Crown on him or what, but or any wasn't on it. We carried him on over across pulled his plane on across the bay.
But like you mentioned before, the ferry boat saved many lives. It was at the right place and the right time.
Yeah,
no one was out there.
There was so often a young boy or a fisherman would get out in a little rowboat, maybe have a kicker that'd get into a strong squall out there. And it happened to me, old ferry boat was coming along, and right close enough. We saved a lot of lives out there. Never got in the newspaper either.
World War II changed the ferry boat industry somewhat.
During the Second World War, the ferry boats were needed for government work. They stopped the ferry boat service across there, and the Navy. The ferry company had 3 vessels at the time. The one called Pinellas for this county here, and the Manatee for Manatee County, and Sarasota County. And the Navy wanted the Pinellas and the Manatee up at Jacksonville, and they had a big naval air station up there. They took them 2 boats up to Jacksonville and used them up there, made Navy boats out of them, and just to carry personnel back and forth. They were sort of passenger boats. And then the Army took the 3rd vessel, which was Sarasota, and run her from MacDill Field into Plant Park, Tampa.
Okay, and your daddy ran that one, right?
Yeah, my daddy ran that one, yeah.
And he ran it until, what, 1950?
He ran it until the Second World War was over. And then after the Second World War was over, the ferry service down from Pinellas Point, lower end of Petersburg, over to Piney Point, just 11 miles north of Palmetto, Florida. And they started the ferry service up again there. There wasn't any ferry boat service there for about 3.5 years.
But at some point, you finished your apprenticeship, and you had to go to the Great Lakes to finish your time up.
There was, at the time I graduated from high school, they had a government had passed a law, whereas a vessel over 65 feet long, carrying passengers, 65% of the deck force had to be qualified seaman and lifeboatman.
And here you've been on it all your life and hadn't logged any
I
time.
had never logged any time, so they only had 2 seamen on there. I had a 6-man crew, but only 2 seamen. Had the law said 50%, why, one of those 2 could have been a qualified seaman other than his apprentice. In the case of me, I was very fortunate, I consider, as being able to get on a ship on the Great Lakes. I sailed up there long enough. I put in 2 seasons, 9 months a season, 18 months to get enough apprenticeship in to take examination for able-bodied seaman and lifeboatman.
And then you came back to Pinellas County?
After I got the qualification, then they were about to put another boat on the run, and it worked out that I got to be on that boat as a seaman. I wasn't seaman very long though before that Second World War broke out, and then I was seaman on a destroyer. I was in Uncle Sam's Navy. But that's all right. I used to dream at times out in the Pacific Ocean where they called it theater of duty. War to me ain't no theater, but we had quite a few run-ins with the Japanese suicide planes, kamikazes, some people call them.
Yeah, you told me a story about that in your harmonica.
There's one of them hit the water. Like he's gonna come right on down on top of our heads. I was back on the stern there. I was loaded on a 20mm anti-aircraft gun. It wasn't hitting him though, and he come right on down and it hit the water on our port quarter back along the left stern of the destroyer. Cotton was the name of her. And the splash come up in the wet. Us 9 or 10 fellas standing back on the stern there. It wet us. And plenty of praying was going on. And after a little while that we was out of the whatever danger there was there, and we were secured from battle stations. I went down and got my harmonica, and I decided to play. I didn't even decide, I just started playing a tune. I had never played it on there before. I'd been on there a year about then. And some of the fellas was mighty glad I started playing because they didn't know they had anybody play a harmonica.
How about
They had an old boy play the guitar all the time. Good for him. He was good too.
Well, Early, we're going to break right now. We're going to take us a short little break, and then when we come back, we're going to hear you play on your harmonica.
I appreciate it.
That's going to be a treat because they haven't heard you play in person.
All right.
But first of all, we're going to go to Charlie Jones, our pioneer editor, and he's going to tell us a little bit about Heritage Park. Charlie?
Would you like to learn more about Pinellas County's history? Visit Heritage Park, Pinellas County's 21-acre open-air historical park, and experience lifestyles from the turn of the century. See Pinellas County's oldest existing structures as you're escorted through the early 20th century buildings by tour guides dressed in period costumes. Walk the same brick paths that the early settlers traveled and feel the serenity of bygone days as you are surrounded by Florida pine and palmetto landscape. You are welcome to visit Heritage Park from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. Tuesdays through Saturdays, and from 1 p.m. until 4 p.m. on Sundays. Heritage Park is located in Largo at the corner of Walsingham Road and 125th Street. And please call for more information 462-3474. Thank you, and now back to our lovely lady, B.J. Maloney.
Thanks, Charlie. Thank you, Charlie. Well, this is going to be a fun part of the program for me. We're going to hear Early J from Tampa Bay play his harmonica, and he's going to give us one of the tunes that got him into the Harmonica Hall of Fame. But first of all, before we take off, I want you to tell us a little bit about that harmonica you got there.
You know, BJ, when the captain on that destroyer found out that I played the harmonica a little bit, he didn't have a bugler on that destroyer, and we didn't have need for a bugler very much, but once in a while they needed a bugler, and they didn't have one, so I took over the bugler's duties with the harmonica. I believe I'm the first fellow, maybe, I don't know for sure, but I'd like to know for certain if maybe I'm the first sailor to have had the duties of a bugler with a harmonica. Reveille and taps.
I bet that's pretty a safe guess that you were. No, the reveille is on your tape.
Yeah.
And I want to tell the audience a little bit about your tape a little bit later on. But first of all, I want you to play my favorite song.
What was that?
That's Peg of My Heart.
Peg of My Heart. I was play it the early J of Tampa Bay way. Peg of My Heart.
Very good, very good. You were the 30th person to be inducted into the Harmonica Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And that's quite a privilege, quite an honor.
Yeah, it is.
Now that's located right here in Florida, but where's the town?
The Coconut Creek, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's a few miles north of Fort Lauderdale. The fellow that created or got the Harmonica Hall of Fame started, his name is Lou Dellin, D-E-L-I-N. Yeah, he had played harmonica with a group of harmonica players. They were right famous before the Harmonica Cats. Their group was called the Harmonica Rascals.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the little very famous midget that used to play a harmonica about that long, big old bass harmonica.
Well, speaking of a midget playing at one this long, I wonder if you could play this one for us.
Oh yeah, I could play that one for you. I'll play a little. When do you want a little?
Just
tune?
a little tune, yeah.
You just want a little short tune, about 20-second tune. That'd be all right. I can't think of one.
Do you need to tune it?
No, it better be in tune. I think there's one note missing now.
Oh no.
We're gonna get around it. Let's see, a banjo on my knee.
Very good, very good.
You know what you call that, BJ? You call that a little lady.
Little lady, how apropos. Now, you told me a story that one time you'd almost given up on this particular harmonica. It's
Yeah.
and something about it, you almost threw it overboard.
Almost threw it overboard, yeah.
Something about this little mechanism in there kind of threw you off.
That push button.
I've never seen one like that. I brought my harmonica here early.
Yeah.
I have this really wonderful harmonica. I didn't get this little side thing like you did, though. Mine has this big hole in the side.
Well, I'll be darned. I never saw one like that.
You never saw it?
Oh.
Well, you could break it in for me. I haven't had a lot of luck with it.
Oh, my goodness. That might be Chinese. I don't know as I better.
Well, tell you what. After the program, you can give me a lesson, because you promised the other night that you'd help me learn how to play my harmonica here.
That's all right. You know, I for a while when after I had found out about this type of harmonica, I didn't think there was but two kinds of harmonicas. I thought there was that little one called a Marine Band that just can play the fancy name for that scale. I always call it the ordinary do-re-mi scale, but they call that a diatonic scale. And old Barney Thomas fell at Glen Oak Grammar School where I had to go to school, and I was very grateful to have met Barney Thomas. He got me started amongst 5 or 6 other students playing on the little Marine Band harmonica. I don't have one with me tonight, but that's similar to that one right there. You had to start out with I call it the ordinary scale, which is and Barney Thomas said if you kids practice that scale, you'll play tunes eventually. And we got to where we could play, well, they didn't have this old band at that time, but like so many kids like nowadays, they had whatever tunes that one like Banjo and Bundy, I guess we played. I don't remember just what all we didn't play.
Well,
Way down upon the Swanee River is what I was trying to think of.
I've heard you'd go almost any place and take your harmonica and play for kids in school.
Oh, I do now, yeah.
And old folks in nursing homes.
Yeah.
And you even play in the hospital when you have pneumonia.
Well, when I was in the hospital with pneumonia, a nurse named Carol, which it was getting close to Christmas, and it was getting close to Christmas then. The Christmas Carol, that helped me remember her name. She come in to have me in a room there. There wasn't nobody else in the room. I wasn't, what do they call it, where you are?
Incapacitated?
No, where you're isolated.
Oh.
I wasn't isolated, but there wasn't nobody in the room with me. But she came in the room and says, Early J, what do you got a odd-looking harmonica on the nightstand there. What you gonna do? Are you ever gonna play that for us? Well, I was about out of wind anyhow. I was in there with the pneumonia, and I couldn't hardly breathe then. She says, what are you gonna do with it? I says, Carol, I reckon the way things are, I might have to play my way into the pearly gates. There's Carol says she'd like to hear me play something before that might happen. Oh, later on that day, I had asked her, I said, Carol, if you put it over on the bed by me, if I'm able to, I'll try to play you something after a while. And
you played She'd Be Coming Around the Mountain.
That's what I played, She'd Be Coming Around.
And you raised the house.
You want to tell what happened? How about you tell him what happened then?
Well, there was a little lady laying down the hall that hadn't really responded much to the treatment there, and they thought that she's pretty well gone.
Yeah.
And you started playing and she started clapping, and she's out of there before you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I'm surprised they let you go.
I didn't know my music had carried over there too, but I started playing that She'd Be Coming Around the Mountain.
You've had several honors bestowed upon you. I know you've played at the White House by special invitation, and
Yeah.
you also won the gong show at MacDill Field.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which is more prestigious, but they go equally hand in hand.
Yeah.
But before we end, I want to re-emphasize to our audience that Mr. McMullen will play for any group at any time, anywhere, and the reason he does this is for the ferry boats. And if any of you are interested in a new organization that's being formed, which is Enthusiasts for the Ferry Boat, you want to call 797-1911. And he'll give you more information, and we'll get these ferry boats back on Tampa Bay.
Especially down there close to where I live. They're not far from the Bayview Garden Apartments there. And Bayview over the Boatyard Village is an ideal place for a ferry boat. You know, if we had had a ferry boat there.
Okay, Mr. We're going to let you play right now.
I'm going into the area here. I ought not to right now.
Okay. Why don't you play Bye Bye Blues for us?
All right, good idea.
And thank you very much.
Bye. There's a red house over yonder, yeah. Lord, where my pretty baby like to stay. Yeah. There is a red house over yonder, yeah, man, where my little girl loves to stay. Oh, yeah. Man, I ain't been home to see my little girl. Oh, 99 1/2 days. Lord, there's a red house over yonder, and it sits high up on that hill. There is a red house over yonder, yeah, sits high up on a hill, yeah. Well, and well, if my little girl don't want to go, oh, I'm pretty sure that her sister will. Her sister likes me, man. Come on over here, Bill. Sing one.
Wait a minute. I think of something right away. I said, wait a minute, pretty baby. I think something's happening. I think something's happening right over here. Yeah. I haven't seen my nappy-headed baby You shook me, baby.